So I'm just going to flip it and make it me be the interviewer here for a second. I just want to ask a quick question, or I'm going to tell you what Serena actually taught at the retreat. She focused a lot on mindset and then also got into nitty gritty work, like things like your services, your offers, really positioning that. And she did such an incredible job. But I want to know.
Hey, and welcome to the Ambitious Bookkeeper Podcast. I'm Serena Shoup. I am a CPA and mom of 3. And I'm running a virtual bookkeeping business mostly from my home. You're in the right place if you're a bookkeeper, accountant, or an accounting student, and you know that your purpose is bigger than sitting in a cubicle. If you're ready to learn some actionable tips and strategies to help you start and grow a bookkeeping or accounting business, I hope you stick around. Hey, are you a seasoned bookkeeper or accountant with your own business wanting to break through to the next level? Great, because this episode is especially for you. I have my biz bestie, Alyssa Lang, the workflow queen, on to chat about her recent retreat in Nashville, Tennessee. I had the honor of teaching a few sessions at the retreat and participated as a firm owner. And we wanted to give you a little bit of a behind the scenes look at what went into planning the retreat and when the next one will be. So listen in on our Biz Bestie conversation. Here is Alyssa Lang. Welcome, Alyssa. Thank you so much for finally coming on to record an actual dedicated podcast. I know I've had you on the podcast before, but it was a repurposed interview. So I'm really excited to actually hit record on a brand new conversation with you that we haven't had before. This week, I wanted to have you on kind of to do a recap of the retreat that you just put on in Nashville, Tennessee, that I had the honor of being a part of as a bookkeeping business owner and as an instructor, which was really, really awesome. And thank you so much for inviting me. But I wanted to give our listeners, or my listeners, they're probably your listeners too, like we share an audience, just like a recap of the whole retreat, like what went into planning it, like what made you decide to put on a retreat?
Yeah. So first of all, by the way, my name is Alyssa Lang. If you don't know who I am, I'm the owner and founder of Workflow Queen. We help bookkeepers and accountants from around the world to implement tech systems and automation. And we started out with just one-on-one services. Then we moved on to courses. And now one of our big things is now retreats. And it has been such a fun in-person experience. And the reason why we did it, going back to your question, is I recently attended a convention called BKX, and Serena was there with me, supporting me the whole time. And at the convention, I realized that a lot of people, especially going through 2020 and 2021, that a lot of people craved and needed to be around people and masterminding, that there's nothing that can replace being around people, listening, touching, feeling, understanding each other. I realized that a lot of people really needed that connection with people in person, and there's nothing that can replace that one-on-one, like writing it out together, speaking it through, listening to each other without that weird awkwardness of Zoom interrupting, like when someone's talking. And so because of that, I came back from BKX on this like high of being around so many people, meeting people in real life, people that I've interacted through my programs, through in like online spaces and stuff like that. So because of that, me and my team decided to put on our very first in-person retreat. But fun fact, it actually was supposed to only be our company retreat. So we were going to fly out our whole team to Nashville to do a company retreat. And then we were like, let's just include the students. We'll do the company retreat the first half and then students the second half. And we only offered it to our kickoff with Asana students. And within less than 24 hours, we sold out every single spot to the retreat in person. And it just was mind blowing to me. I didn't realize that people would want to hang out with us in person. And then, of course, I offered and asked Serena to come and speak and guest speak because A, she's my biz bestie, and 2, she's incredibly damn smart.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was super excited for that. And I don't know if I'm assuming that your future retreats will be kind of the same, but this one was just all women, which just added a layer of kind of safety as a retreat goer for me. I mean, it was a lot easier to sell my husband on me traveling without him, right?
Yeah.
if it's an all women retreat, but it was just magic to be able to connect with other women that are in the same or similar stage of growing their business that I am, even though I'm also like a mentor and instructor. I got a ton of value from the retreat. I mean, I showed up as a student doing all the exercises with you guys, and I had so many like major takeaways that I was able to bring back to my team, and just like eye-opening things too, of like pieces where I felt like I wasn't to the point where I thought like that I was wanting to be at. Like for instance, when we did, and we'll get into kind of like the topics that you covered, but one of the things was like the time tracking. Leading up to the retreat, we had several Zoom meetings with you to kind of prepare us so that we could get the most out of the retreat. And one of the things that you asked us to do was time track for 30 days. And I pretty much had been time tracking anyways. I wasn't being as religious with it, but I buckled down and I tracked every little minute of time, or I tried to at least, most minutes of time that I was working. And it was a huge eye opener for me because I felt like I was spending a lot more time in my bookkeeping business than I actually was. And so I got a lot of clarity around that. And that was like one of my biggest breakthroughs is I was like, wow, I'm actually not spending as much time on client work or on my bookkeeping business as I thought that I was. So I was enabled with that information to figure out what I needed to do next to take me to the next level that I want to be at. And so, kind of backtracking a little bit. So you planned the retreat, you had your team, right? You did the team retreat before. Can you talk a little bit about how that ended up panning out? What did you guys do before everybody got there?
Yeah. So the original plan was actually for us to do a breakdown of the whole entire year, because every year we are going to be doing a team in company retreat, if I said that even right. And it's meant for us and my team to revisit the vision that I have for this company, because my long-term goal is to remove myself from this company. And so with that, I have to clearly identify where I want to go, the goals that I have, and then also start to bring in more leadership roles to actually take over. So our original plan was to visit that and also like lay out all these goals. But the problem is, once we got to Nashville, because this was our very first in-person retreat, we had no idea how much it really took. We did a lot of planning. I mean, we are like the workflow queen for a reason. We had a lot of stuff nailed down. But once you get it and you start doing it, it's like, oh my gosh, we got to get the tables and we got the chairs and then we're trying to team build. And so before everybody else came, it was just really us running around, making sure that we had all the workbooks ready. We went through every single one of the slides because for us, it was more important for the students to walk away with all the aha moments versus us trying to put ourselves first. But before our retreat in Nashville, I actually flew out my operations manager out to California 2 days before we left for Nashville. And that's where the real magic happened. We did a lot of in-person breaking down major processes and improvements because our company has grown so much in almost a year and a half that we worked a lot on stuff. So thank God she came out here a little bit earlier, because if not, it would have been a bummer to not work on things in person with at least one of my team members. So that was pretty fun.
We'll be back after a quick break.
This episode of the Ambitious Bookkeeper Podcast is sponsored by my brand new free training, The Ultimate Guide to Creating a Profitable Bookkeeping Business. In just 1 hour, you will learn 3 keys to creating and launching a profitable bookkeeping business. We will map out your path to creating a bookkeeping or accounting business that keeps you in control of your time, priorities, and expertise. From someone who built a 6-figure firm on part-time hours. That's right. You can stay in control of your time, keep family as your priority, and serve your clients well. It just takes a little strategy up front, and I'm going to help you with that during this free training. So head over to the show notes to sign up now for the next training and find out how you can choose the work you do, kick imposter syndrome to the curb, use tech to be super efficient, which all leads to a profitable business. Just head on over to ambitiousbookkeeper.com/training, and I will see you there. Awesome. So now we're to the point of like the retreat is starting. You have people flying. I mean, we all flew from every part of the country, basically.
Yep.
How were you feeling? Like, I'm going to give people like a behind the scenes look of like what goes into this, because I think it's important to show like what actually goes into things like this, because you made it look really easy. You probably
Yeah.
didn't feel that way on the inside, but as a participant in the retreat, everything seemed as seamless as it possibly could be. So, I don't want people to feel like it's super easy to put on a retreat either, because I know just from talking to you and having candid conversations as friends that it's not easy. So how were you feeling like the day before everybody was, or the day of that everyone was going to arrive?
So the day of that everyone arrived, we were actually super pumped, but there was a lot of stuff that I had to like finish up when it came to content. The girls, thank God for my team, like shout out to Alyssa T and to Jen. They ran around and got all the binders, the notebooks, they got all the resources. We stocked the alcohol, the food, all the things that people needed to have fun in Nashville. We made sure everyone's stuff was ready, tables, chairs. It was a lot of work and a lot of doing. And I'm very thankful that I had my team to do a lot of that while I focused on the most important piece, which was what are people going to take away from this? Because take away the drinks or take away the food or take away the way that we set up the tables. All that matters is, are you going to be able to go home with real tangible stuff to actually implement and build a team and a firm that will actually support you and actually run without you? But there was a lot of money involved, which most people are like, oh, it's so easy to put together. It's like, no, honey, there's a lot of stuff that you have to spend just to make sure to support everybody. But going into it, when everyone arrived, I was so excited because I just like, one, Serena was coming that day, like pretty early on, and some people showed up sporadically, but it was a blast. I was a little nervous because we did share an Airbnb. So we had 2 tall Airbnbs in Nashville, and we weren't sure how big this place actually was, even though we thought we knew dimensions. And it was a lot smaller than we thought, but only like because it was very tall and narrow, but 4 stories high. And when everyone got there, I was like, what if they're going to be mad at me for, assigning a room with someone else? Like nobody slept in the same bed, even though me and Serena probably would have slept in the same bed if necessary, if needed.
If necessary.
Yeah. If we had to, we already agreed on it. But nobody had to share beds. But I was like, what if I put the wrong person with the wrong person? But that's why I kept it so intimate, only for my kickoff with Asana students who have interacted. But everybody, that was probably the best feedback we got. Was at first I was a little nervous to sleep in the room with someone else, but then after it like made it better because they mastermind together and they talked through the day. And so that was probably the most nerve-wracking part. Like, what if the Wi-Fi crashes? Which the first day it kind of did. And then we fixed it. So
yeah. But it's like the little things that you don't think of, like having 20 people on one Wi-Fi network is like, I mean, technically we had 2 because there was the 2 Airbnbs next to each other. Thank God. That probably helped. A couple of us had our own like little jetpack things. Yeah. So then we didn't overload the Wi-Fi, but I never would have thought of that until that day when you mentioned it. I was like, oh, dang, I'm glad I brought my jetpack.
Yeah.
But
those are those little things.
Yeah. So for you, from the perspective of like, now that you're on the other side of the retreat and you've gotten the feedback from everybody, what would you say was for you, like when you look back on the retreat, not necessarily considering everyone else's feedback at this point, but just your own, what's one thing that you would do differently or hope to do differently next time?
I think one of the things is being a little bit more clear with my team and like praising them a little bit more. Cause like, I was so like, it's my first ever retreat. It's the first time I've ever like had the opportunity to really wow people, even though we can do that in programs all day, every day, but the little tiny details of a photographer, taking pictures for everybody, things like what food to eat, like picking out the chef. Like I was so meticulous about every little detail, because it was the first time me doing it, that I was so much so like, go, and not stepping back and remembering to thank how hard my team worked while they were there and how hard they like showed up every day. Like these girls weren't even required to work past their 8-hour days. And they were like serving people at their tables, asking everybody if they're okay. And like, sometimes as me, as business owners, I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure people listening in have that same problem where you're always like, forgetting to say all the good all the time. And then you're just like, cause you're go, and you want it a certain way. So if I could go back, it would be to make sure to like stop and say, thank you so much for supporting me, like to my team. and recognizing them a lot more is what I would do
throughout the process. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were amazing, by the way.
Yeah. I know.
They were so amazing. Like, I can't believe like just the energy that they brought, just the ability to jump in and help teach when you lost your voice.
Yes.
Like that, it was incredible. Like they really, like, they were just incredible. And I'm sure every person at the retreat felt the same way. So now taking it to what the feedback that you got from the retreat goers, the participants, what would you say was the most common theme, of either positive feedback or critical feedback?
Yeah. So I'm gonna start with critical. Usually I don't do critical before the positive, but critical was, we picked a certain chef that he was just a character. Let me just explain it like that. He was great. I've selected him and bad mistake on my part, but we built out a specific menu with the chef that was supposed to be light. So that way, when we're done, we're breaking off. So we had 8 hours of content pretty much every single day. So the most important thing to me was that everybody wasn't going in with carb heavy hash browns, carb heavy lunches. It was super important for me to make sure that that didn't happen. And some of the feedback was the food was too light. So that was like the most negative thing that people said, was that the food was a little bit too light, but we took that personally. And maybe next time we'll add like, a little sandwich or something like that. We did mostly salads. It's just, we wanted to make sure everyone was awake and alive when we were like presenting. That was super important for me. When it comes to positive feedback, it went back to, oh my gosh, it was incredible to be in a room of, like you said, women. And like, also we had, I want to say like 60% of the women were moms. And I'm not a mom myself. I'm definitely a dog mom, but that compares nothing to people with human beings. But a lot of the moms were just like, this is so incredible to like, I had one testimony that like literally made our whole team cry. And she was like, I felt like I was in a room, in a place I was meant to be, like learning from incredible people, having great conversations. Like it was a good breath of fresh air from my newborn. And it was so nice to hear a lot of people saying that that was their biggest takeaway, on top of the content, like how much we went into crazy depth, which we thought at the beginning, like I'm giving way too much away, which is usually something that I end up doing. And we did, but everybody loved it, And so I think that a lot of people said the masterminding and also the content itself.
Yeah. I think as a mom too, that was probably like the best, one of the best parts of like getting away from my kids. Not really, but kind of like being able to like feel like I'm on vacation while also like doing stuff to drive my business forward, but still having a break. Like it was just this like magic, I don't know, where all of those things met in the middle. Where like, I'm getting a break from my kids, I'm getting a break from my business, but also driving my business forward because I'm learning a bunch of new stuff and networking with people, and then building more relationships, like building actual friendships,
Yeah.
and yeah, not feeling completely alone in like, because we all pretty much run virtual businesses. Even if we have teams, our teams are virtual as well. So most of us aren't getting adult interaction in real life with other people.
Yeah. And that's what, like, I was so pumped to have one fly Alyssa out to me before we even went to Nashville. Was so incredible. So my operations manager, she's from Canada. And so she's been locked down for like 2 years, poor girl. So she finally got to get out of the country and come out to visit us over here. And it was such a fun time to show her a bit of California. On top of, we did a lot of brain work. And even though we're both work really, really well, we're both systems oriented, we really make power moves together all the time virtually. Nothing compared to the way that we were able to talk through issues or problems or just talk things out. And I think that even also meeting my team in Nashville, and then also more people and hearing what everybody's going through, because sometimes like nobody wants to be that person on a Zoom to like unmute themselves and explain what they're going through. So I'm just going to flip it and make it me be the interviewer here for a second. I just want to ask a quick question. Or I'm going to tell you what Serena actually taught at the retreat. She focused a lot on mindset and then also got into nitty gritty work, like things like your services, your offers, really positioning that. And she did such an incredible job. But I want to know your feedback of the way that people felt when they started going through the mindset. I did not know people were going to go as deep as they went at the retreat. So I'm curious to know how you felt during your presentation.
That was, again, like, I feel like I keep using the word magic, but it was pure magic to be in the room teaching the content that I teach online in a course. And I teach some of it live in my workshops too. Like, I kind of touch on it, but to getting feedback as you go, like even when I teach online on Zoom, I ask people to participate, but it's still not the same when someone participates in the chat or even unmutes, because there's like a weird delay. But it was so awesome to be able to like pause in between certain areas and ask people to like say like what, one of their biggest money blocks is, and like their stories around certain like mindset blocks, because I can stand up in front of everyone and teach all day long, but I don't know if something's quite resonating with people unless I can make the eye contact and to
feel the room.
Yeah. Like it was so different. And honestly, I don't know if I've ever really taught in a situation like that. Like, I've taught a lot on Zoom and I've led a team in corporate, but I never taught those kinds of topics to anybody. So I was a little bit nervous, to be honest, to teach that. And then I was like, are people going to like, because I build in questions into my, kind of the way that I teach it to get engagement. And I'm like, are people going to actually open up? But they did. And it was really awesome. And then to be able to kind of like, other people will be like, yeah, me too. Like, I agree. Like this is how it shows up for me. And like, I never thought of it that way, like how it connects to my pricing and that kind of stuff. So it was really awesome just to like, to know that it resonates with other people and that it's helping them, right? Like for them, so you can see the light in their eyes, like change when they have a breakthrough.
By the way, our retreat's called the Breakthrough Retreat.
Yeah.
For a reason.
So yeah, let's take it there then. When you were deciding, because I know you packed a lot of content in it and into the retreat. And that is, I mean, I don't think I filled out the feedback form, but I did give this feedback in person to you guys, was like, you could probably just teach in the mornings and then have the afternoons for implementation or sightseeing.
Yeah. Right.
So what topics did we cover at this retreat? And let's just start with that. Like, what are the major topics that you covered at the retreat?
Yeah. So this retreat, we actually did 3 days. Our next one around, we realized we might have to make it longer because we want to do a little bit more implementation, like days. So for this time around, it was a 3-day retreat in person, but everybody was there for 5 days. So the first day that we actually taught, we did what we call our power series. So we want to make sure that everybody harnesses their power to break through. And so the power, what that stands for is a powerful mindset, optimized offers. Then you have world-class systems, empowered company culture, and then also the removable CEO. So on the first day, we covered powerful mindset and also optimized offers. So it kind of led with you talking a lot about mindset and also about offers, like the ways that we can like rework things. We talked about our time tracking and all that fun stuff. And then on day 2, we talked about world-class systems. So we dedicated a whole day specifically to that because that's my zone of genius, is systems. And that day we really broke down a lot of things around Notion. So we gave everybody our exact Notion setup. We taught a lot about project management techniques. We dove really, really deep into SOPs, how to document processes. We even did like an implementation session that I think was my favorite one, which we gave everybody a poster board. I know we have some great photos from that. That was the day that Jeremy, the photographer, came, and he got some incredible photos from that. And we got everybody a big poster board. We had about 5-6 tables of people, and each table was dedicated a master poster board with mini sticky notes. And so everybody's table had to decide on one process that they were going to work on, something they were struggling with. Most people was onboarding. Some people, it was month-end close. And so just to see everybody at their table, there's about like 4 to 5 people per table, just going back and forth. And like, we would be walking around, me and my team, and like like breaking things down for them. And that was so eye-opening for so many people. Then we just kind of dive more into more system stuff, process mapping, decision trees, all that fun stuff. And then the last day we covered empowered company culture and removable CEO. So we focused a lot on, we actually gave our exact job description, how to build it out on your website, what it should look like each section, how to actually attract the right people into your firm. Things like, what am I saying here? The way you pay your people, the way you give them money, the way you give monies to the people, stuff like that. We focused a lot on your org chart, stuff like that. The things that most people in this industry are just not teaching for this industry, because there's generic stuff out there, but it's so different the way that you work things here. The last thing we talked about is actually like KPIs. And then also we dove into removing yourself from your company. Whether that's your goal now or in the future, you should have a company that runs with or without you, because if something happens and like you get hit by a bus today, you're kind of screwed in your company and your clients won't be taken care of. So that was the theme. We covered like a power series, and it was so much content that I lost my voice.
I'm pretty sure you lost your voice before the retreat even started.
For sure. It was Alyssa's fault, because she's so Canadian, and she was like, nobody likes to listen to Matchbox 22, I think is what they're called. And she was screaming it in my car. And of course, what American doesn't love that song, all the songs that they sing. And she's like, people in Canada don't get it. She's the reason I lost my voice.
Yeah. Okay. So it was a ton of content. So are you thinking in the future to do a 5-day retreat and teach one of those topics each day?
Yeah. So that's what we're thinking. It's either one of those topics each day, or still putting together what we did on day one, because those two fit really well together. And then breaking off one of those days to just be implementation. And also the beauty of being at the retreat is also you get me and my team 24 hours. I mean, if it's 2 a.m. and I'm sleeping, or it's Nashville, I was out probably. That's a little different. Let me sleep a little bit. You get access to myself and my team, and those conversations alone, people loved having a team perspective of how they felt with, someone. So our plan is to do a couple of days of actual work and then implementation, more masterminding, and really diving into what they learned. So we're still trying to decide if it's 5 days, like what we're going to do, because, that comes with a lot more resources we have to put up front to support something like that. So we're still trying to figure it all out, but we're very excited.
Yeah, I'm super excited. So you've mentioned before that you're planning on doing them twice a year at this point. Have you figured out when the next one will be?
Yes, we have. So the next one will be March of 2022. It will be actually at the end of March, because this time we did it at the very beginning of October, and there's just never a good time for anybody, to be honest. But we also picked it right during month end. So that was a mistake. But at the same time, everyone did so well. Everyone was like helping each other out with all their stuff, which was great. But March, and then I think the one after that will be, it's either August or July of 2022. And then, yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And back to like who the retreat is for, because I'm sure there's somebody listening that's like, I want to be at the next one. How do I get into the list? I know that, like you said at the beginning of the podcast, that you only invited students from Kick Off with Asana, which is your program where you teach bookkeepers and accountants how to build out their workflows, so that they can start hiring and removing themselves and just generally not keeping everything in their brains.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I would say, is that still going to be a prerequisite for participating in the retreats?
So at this time, that's something that we are heavily thinking will be the right step, mostly because it is an application. We don't just approve anybody and everybody to go to the retreat. It's an approval process, mostly because we want to make sure that you are at a point where, like, we support people in our programs. Some of our programs, we have different tiers. In each of our program, we support people who are brand new, 0 clients, maybe just like went to the county and got their business name. Unfortunately, the retreat is not for those people, even though I'm sure the passion is there. It's just not the right time. So the appropriate people that would be best suited for the retreat are those who have some sort of a system. So in Kick Off with Asana, we teach Asana with all the templates. Everything's done for you specific to the accounting and bookkeeping industry. And so that's why we kind of required that, because we knew every student at the retreat would at least have a project management system in place, because we don't really talk much about the hiring, like the actual logistics behind it in those programs, because that's so much more advanced. Mm-hmm. And so people coming to the retreat are those who you don't have to have a team, but you really want to have a team, or you maybe not want a team, but maybe you want like large growth. Maybe you need to redo your whole entire sales system. Like that was something we taught at the retreat. We gave our sales sequence to bring in clients via a pipeline. Like if you cannot support that pipeline, you are not ready for something like Breakthrough for the retreat, because ultimately you're just going to be bringing in all these clients that you can't support, and you have no system and no team to support you.
Yeah.
And so for anybody who wants to be in it, I don't care how much money you essentially make. There are programs out there that are like, you have to make 300K, like, or else you can't go. I don't think that can justify whether someone's ready for something like that. I mean, it's application, but we definitely heavily rely on, are you ready to break through? Like, are you hitting a wall that needs to be supported? And that's what that's for.
Yeah. I think the foundations of understanding how to build workflows really important, and to have at least be planning to hire somebody, because that was another huge takeaway for me, was like the hiring process that you went through with us was super duper valuable, because we have plans to grow too. So I know I'm going to need to be hiring in the future, but it's great to have that planned out before you get to the point of actually needing to hire. But before you get there, even, you have to understand your own processes. You have to understand how to price your services properly, so that you can support a team, because generally solopreneurs, solo practitioners aren't pricing at a point where they could even afford to hire somebody, because they're not really even taking their own time into account. And then like the stuff that I taught on, like optimizing your offers, is really scaling back actually the services that you offer and adding more value with a smaller service suite, so that you can easily onboard a new team member and teach them, because the more services you provide, the further stretched you and your team are. So,
I have something to say on that.
Yes, go for it.
Someone actually left a really great feedback on the optimized offers. And I think you know who she is, but we'll just keep the name to ourselves. So she gave feedback because she's actually doing the thing that we told her to do, which was really looking at the way that you're pricing your clients, because right now you are pricing them way, way, way too low. And there was no possibility she'd be able to sustain, like, having the roles that she wanted to have on her team. And so when she went through Serena's session, it was a really good eye-opening moment for her. So she gave feedback that she loved the offers, and now she has to go back. She has a lot of clients, and she now has to analyze it and have those tough conversations. And I know you talked about having those conversations with your clients and saying, hey, look, like, it's either we increase you or not, like, unfortunately, and sometimes not everybody will do the increase. But a lot of the times, if you have a bunch of people, 75% of them increasing and you lose 25% of them, you're still making more money because you increased them and it covered the cost of the loss. Right. So she had a really good breakthrough moment around that topic. And for those of you listening, like, me and Serena complement each other really well in some really odd manner. We somehow can like take what we both know in our expertise and bring them together. So we use the time tracking alongside Serena's pricing, alongside supporting a team and like actually breaking all that stuff down at each parts of our zone of genius. And people got so many aha moments. They're like, holy crap, I spend this much time, and here's per client, here's the profitability, and then here's the team I need to support. And it was like crazy, like people seeing the two together.
That exercise too of the client profitability was really eye-opening for a lot of people, because when you start playing with that calculator, some people realize, like, with themselves doing the work at the rate that they've assigned themselves, it's actually less expensive, and they'll profit more if they hire somebody to do that work.
Yeah.
And they win the time back. So it's like, it's really crazy, but it stretches you. It stretches people out of your comfort zone. And so that's another thing, that if you're not ready to be stretched out of your comfort zone, the retreat's definitely not for you either.
Yeah. And like going back to something you said earlier about having your processes, it's okay if people just understand the very basic foundations. Because some of the concepts that we taught around, for example, decision trees, process mapping, deep SOPs, but how to not only make them, but also storing them and maintaining them. You sometimes may know how to document a process, but there's so many more things that you need to know. It's like, okay, I filmed this Loom video. Cool. My team should just assume where I stored it. They should just assume where to get it. How do we update it? There's so many other moving parts. And I think that if you're not, sometimes you don't have to have everything perfect to come to something like this, but you definitely have to have clients, and it doesn't have to be like 150. It can literally, we had some people who had like 4 clients, but they were on track and we knew they were ready to like take it to the next level and just go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a couple of people too that were had just a handful of clients, but they were like ready to quit their 9 to 5. So it's like, you can't take on more clients until you have all this stuff in place so that you can quit your 9 to 5. So that was really cool to be able to support people in that realm as well. So we're coming up on our time. I don't want to keep you over, but I do want to talk about, you do have an upcoming workflows challenge, which you put on a few times a year at this point. Can you talk a little bit about what that is and who it's for?
Yeah. So it's called our 5-day free workflows made simple challenge. And like Serena said, we do this every, couple times a year, as much as we possibly can. And so essentially it's a 5-day free challenge, and we do live sessions in the morning and we do a live Q&A at night. Well, I guess like mid-afternoon night, where you can ask questions about what we talk about each day. So each day we cover different topics. So this one, we're really geared towards the people who maybe are at the beginning stage, but also we have a lot of people who are at that, I've had people in our challenge that have like 100 clients. So I'm like, how are you not documenting anything? But it's okay. Yeah. We're gonna open arms. We're here for you. We've had a lot of those types of people too joining our lovely challenge. So the first day we talk about how, what it takes to actually extract a process or a workflow out of your actual brain. Like, how do we really take a step back and pause and extract it? The next day, we actually take one of our students. We do like a little prize, raffle thing where everyone can submit their workflow, and we choose one individual where we take that workflow on day 2 and we actually optimize it. So I will poke the holes that are going to be necessary for you to actually take a step back and say oh my gosh, I didn't even realize I needed more information there. And so I kind of talk through all of that stuff. And so we really break through and workshop through how to create and document those workflows that you need to do the work. Then we dive into goals. We talk about your tech stack. We also dive into Asana on days 4 and 5. And so for anybody who's listening who maybe has a PM system that you're just kind of questioning, or maybe you've thought about Asana, the Workflows Made Simple Challenge is actually the Asana part is going to be included on days 4 and 5. And also, if you don't use Asana and you use something like ClickUp or you use Jetpack Workflow, we've had plenty of people go through the challenge who don't have intentions of using Asana, but they take away a lot of information from the challenge. And that challenge starts November 8th, and it will go from November 8th to November 12th. And if you are here listening to this after that's already been gone, I promise you there will be another one. We just won't host another one until 2022, but you are welcome to hop on our wait list. But in the meantime, if you are listening before then, you can totally join us because it's totally free.
The link will be in the show notes to both the wait list and the challenge. So anytime you're listening to this, try both the links. But yeah, I'm super excited. And yes, I think it's very important for people to understand, this is going to give you the foundations you need to take your business to the next level, whatever that next level means to you. But having the foundations of being able to write a proper process so that you can start to remove yourself, or you can start to hire. And it is applicable in any system. You just have to learn the system you're going to put it into, but having that foundation of your workflows is super crucial. Thank you so much, Alyssa, for coming on here. It's always an honor to conversate with you. And hopefully our listeners are enjoying the conversation. We always get a lot of messages about people wanting to hang out with both of us. So here's your chance. I hope this episode was really fun for you. And hopefully the next chance will be at the next retreat. I'm hoping to be at future retreats as well.
Of course you are. You will be all the ones, any of the ones that you will be at. If Serena is there, she will be presenting something at some point. There's no doubt about it.
Well, thank you so much. And I will talk to you later. Bye. Well, there you go. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Alyssa, and I hope you had some major takeaways. If you are really wanting to level up and break through to the next level, I have a treat for you. The rest of November and part of December, maybe through the rest of the year, I haven't decided yet, my episodes and interviews are going to be dedicated to scaling up and leveling up your firm. So I have some really great guests scheduled for you to take things to the next level in leadership and growth and all the things. So please stay tuned for the rest of the episodes coming to you this year. And if you're interested in joining Alyssa's Workflows Made Simple 5-day free challenge, the link is in the show notes. If you missed the deadline, sign up for the waitlist, get on the next one. And if you already know you want to join her Kickoff with Asana program, that will also be linked in the show notes. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. We will talk to you next week. Bye.
Embrace ambition.